you walk with open arms towards the sun. You feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause you know the truth, and the truth is love, yes it is.
Welcome to the Bassline. Scott Austin, or the conspiracy theorist Masoor, as I like to refer to him, is a friend of mine who has been observing and researching American society and global politics for many years. He has ventured into many rabbit holes and offers a unique perspective. I am elated this afternoon to welcome back to the Bassline my friend Scott Austin. How are you this morning, Scott?
Hey, Jeremiah. Your voice sounds really low. Is it my phone? Or?
I'm not sure about that. Turn up the volume on your phone, and I'm not sure. Maybe Kevin can raise my volume.
I also have a reverb.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully we can fix that, but just try to concentrate. I know it's hard when the audio is a little bit off, but hopefully we can correct that, and hopefully everyone out there can hear me. I'll try to speak up, and likewise, I guess, turn up the volume on your phone as well as you can. So we have a bunch of things we'd like to talk about today, and Scott is a fascinating man. He's a great masseur, so we're going to be mentioning that later. If you need a good massage or it's more than a massage, it's a healing experience. Certainly get in contact with Scott. He will give you a great massage, and it's, like I said, it's beyond a massage. It's physical therapy. It's healing. He's really excellent. So I want the audience to be aware of him as a resource, because if you have any pain or soreness or nagging issues, definitely contact the man. He'll go to work on your behalf and help realign you and help alleviate the pain. And we wanted to talk about a bunch of different things today. Our conversations are normally very diverse in nature. There's a lot of things that I talk about with my friend Scott, and we have some of those items lined up for today's discussion. But Scott made a good point, which is perhaps we should start the discussion with establishing some groundwork in terms of how we go about defining, discussing, interpreting objective truth, because it seems that a lot of people are really trapped in sort of a subjective framework. And I've noticed this quite a bit in conversation and in people's reaction to my independent journalism. I've been saying for a little while, we have a pretty serious situation on our hands where you talk to adult people who are fairly well educated, people who absorb news content on a daily basis. They're reading articles, they're watching news programs, but then we get into sometimes what seems to be an insurmountable hurdle in discussing even objective historical facts. And I'll say historical facts from recent history. And an example I'll use is, for example, right now we have the war in Iran, which is just a catastrophe and just a terrible situation, in my opinion. But I see a lot of people, they're anxious to decry the horrors of the war in Iran because they dislike Donald Trump. But if you're an anti-war activist, then you're repulsed by all of these war activities of all of the recent presidents. You are repulsed by the aggressive foreign policy of Bill Clinton, which generally gets forgotten. You're, of course, repulsed by the Afghan war and the Iraq war started under George W. Bush. You should be repulsed that Barack Obama augmented the drone program times 10. So George Bush introduced extrajudicial assassinations by drone around the world, and Obama expanded that program times 10. Barack Obama annihilated the sovereign African nation of Libya. I've raised this with many Democrats, and their response is, well, that was a mistake. Well, is that a reasonable answer? Can I commit mass murder and write it off as a mistake? Can I go to Bryant Park and mow people down with an Uzi and say, oops, I made a mistake? Joe Biden recently taking us really to the brink of World War III, poking the Russian bear, blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. And my point is, if you're an anti-war activist, you're opposed to all of these atrocities from the gut. You're not making your opinion or your reaction based on your political alignment or your political identity. So I want to hear your thoughts, first of all, Scott, in terms of how do we go ahead and establish a template for discussing objective truth?
Something you just said, it's interesting because wasn't it Obama that made it legal to assassinate a U.S. citizen? I mean, I think
another
he could
one.
do that before, but he kind of legalized it when he, I think he killed 4 U.S. citizens, right? Israel now, I think, has killed 6 in the West Bank, U.S. citizens. But you reminded me of something, too. I remember watching Ken Burns' documentary about the Vietnam War, and he said there was a poll after the 4 students were killed at Kent State by the National Guard, and the poll said, I don't know, it was like 70% of Americans wished that the National Guard had killed more protesters because this was 1970, right? Isn't that when that happened? But that the American people were still on board with the Vietnam War. And I grew up in Massachusetts. Massachusetts was the only state in 1972 that didn't vote for Nixon. So all the way up to 72, the country was pro-war, pro-genocide, pro-killing more students. I mean, not much has changed, I don't think. But that was a little off target about, we're talking about how do people find a truth and for us to communicate. It's like you too, Jeremiah, we've talked about this, where you can't even sit with people now because I think they've been so frustrated by not even in getting involved in a conversation or an argument because of this situation with, they just feel like there's no use in even talking because everybody's points are so solidified. And what I try to share with people is, what sources do you listen to so that you can actually get the clearest objective position so that you can have a conversation and an argument. And because otherwise, if you're just watching MSNBC and CNN or certain shows, the New York Times, I mean, how do you trust those sources? And I have no idea what people listen to anymore. There's so many people that say they don't listen to anything, they don't pay attention to politics. So when you even start a conversation with somebody, which is rare, to get somebody to listen is a huge achievement. But are you still there, Jeremiah?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm all ears.
I think for me, it's and I have a number of books on this. Is for me one of the ways I did it was over the years is just being a diligent researcher and investigator, and then I would go to my friends who I always thought knew more than me, and just ask them questions, and just tried to get as many impeccable sources as I could. And then you just go and argue with your friends and keep studying, keep investigating. But there's certain fundamental truths that don't change. And the sad thing is there's people that, they look up at the sky and they don't even know what geoengineering is, and you go, do you see those streaks across the sky? It always amazes me when somebody doesn't know they're maybe poisoning the skies, and I guess that's a fundamental truth. I was just watching this guy speak the other day about he said in order to get up for the spaceship to go to the moon, it has to travel 17,000 miles per hour. And he showed the spacecraft going up from Florida last week. And then he said that a bullet goes 4,000 miles per hour. And he showed a bullet, and the bullet went ding, and you couldn't even see it. And then he shows the spacecraft going, and it's like, and then he shows this mock jet going at 6,000 or 7,000 miles per hour, and it goes zing, and then he goes back to the spacecraft, and it's going, and then he shows this rocket that's going, I think, 7,000 miles per hour, and it goes so fast you can't even see it. And then he goes back to the spaceship again that's going. And I showed it to my roommate, my 85-year-old roommate, and I said, look at this. And he said, no, wait. It ends up going 17,000 miles per hour when it gets higher into the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. We just had a discussion about the moon landing and the Artemis mission with someone who came into our nightly X space, and that was quite a lively discussion. I won't revisit that, but yeah, it's a fascinating discussion.
But do you believe that too? That it starts going 17,000 miles per hour once it gets up into the atmosphere?
The expert, apparently the expert who was saying that the moon landing, the Apollo missions occurred just as described, and there's a mountain of evidence supporting that. I think the number he used was 8,000 miles per hour as it's traveling through space. I frankly don't have the scientific background to go point for point in terms of all the scientific explanations of how we would achieve such a thing, but I will say I'm very skeptical at this point. I just view it as one of many grand propaganda events of the past several decades. I mean, I look at the COVID lies, I look at the 9/11 lies, I look at the lies around the assassination of JFK, and I have to view it as a member of society and as an analyst of propaganda. I don't have the means to examine the matter from the point of an astrophysicist, as I am simply not an astrophysicist. But another suspicious thing that I pointed out, actually it occurred to me after the guests left our End All Tyranny space on Wednesday night when we were discussing these matters, is the Space Shuttle Challenger, 1986. They
found like 5 people that they have similar names, and they found. Is that what you were going to say?
No. Well, I've seen that too. That's even kind of getting too deep into the weeds about all the space stuff, which we'll table for another time. But I was just going to say that supposedly, according to our expert, there were 8 Apollo missions between 69 and 72. 6 of them involved actually landing on the moon, stepping foot on the moon, which included 24 astronauts in total, according to the official records. So you mean to tell me that this incredible mission was achieved, and repeatedly, in the late 60s, early 70s, and then in 1986, a rocket is just blowing up in the air right off the launch pad? It makes me highly skeptical that everything involved in the previous missions was really accomplished as described in terms of leaving the Van Allen belt at a very particular point where the radiation is less than throughout the rest of the belt, or traveling this extraordinary distance, landing properly on this foreign object, not crash landing, returning, launching again to then return to Earth, and doing all of this safely. Just common sense, without getting too deep into astrophysics, I'm skeptical of that in a society where I know grand lies have been told and have been told repeatedly. So, I just use the example of the Challenger, or even with the Artemis mission now, you haven't been to the moon, you haven't stepped foot on the moon in decades and decades, so you tantalize us by going around the moon.
Yeah.
You went all the way there, step foot on it, like Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
the thing with objective truth is always like when you get in a conversation with somebody and they just think you're nuts, the first thing they go is, I suppose you don't believe we landed on the moon either.
Right.
And I go, no.
Yeah. There's so many things about that. It's tempting to spend the rest of the hour discussing it, actually. But I want to get into something that I know you've studied quite a bit. You've kept an eye on this for quite a long time, and now things are ramping up yet again in terms of the Israel agenda, our allegiance to Israel, our blind, unwavering allegiance to Israel. And I want you to describe, if you can, or just discuss with us this notion of the greater Israel. Because now we're seeing through this war in Iran that Israel is looking to expand. They are bombing Lebanon. They're bombing other places in the region. And it seems that there's this agenda involving not just the Jewish Zionists, but also involving the Christian Zionists, who apparently outnumber Jewish Zionists 10-1, that this greater Israel needs to be fulfilled to fulfill biblical prophecy or whatever. But the point is, Israel seems to be looking to expand, and we are quite aware of their aggressive pattern of behavior. So tell us, if you could, because a lot of people, frankly, are just not even familiar with the concept. Could you tell us about the greater Israel agenda, what it consists of, and how that ties into the current war operations that are happening?
Well, I want to say consolidate this, because it's a lot of different aspects. And I was thinking before the interview the last couple of days, like, I'm not an expert. I'm just like you, Jeremiah. I read stuff. I read an abundant amount of stuff. I listen to as many people as I can, from, Jeffrey Sachs to John Mearsheimer to Scott Ritter to, countless more of them explaining the history and its context now, and what Catherine Austin Fitz, and even my friend Tom this morning, when I was asking him about it, he said it's not even so much about Iran. This is more about what happened in 2019 with the Great Reset, and COVID. So he said this is COVID 2.0, and a lot of this is in relation to taking down the dollar and destroying the U.S. economy and converting this new multipolar world where they're going to, the 2030 agenda, where it's going to be this global governing system in this new multipolar world that they've been talking about, the New World Order, where there are no nation states, and which is why they flooded all these countries with immigrants. And so when you see Agenda 2030, it's this 17 goals, but the overarching theme is like the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership thing that Bernie Sanders says was mapped on steroids, where they it's the end of nation states, and it's this global system. So part of what the Greater Israel Project is that I've looked at is they're tearing down these structures and getting people to accept the purest form of evil. At the same time, they're restructuring the whole Middle East and getting people to accept it. So, like, Trump said that there's no war. But then I was watching on C-SPAN the other day, they had the resolution for opening the Strait of Hormuz, and every single country was saying it was the Iran war, the Iran war, the Iran war. And then the Russian ambassador to the UN gets on and he says, look, we're rejecting this. Because the first paragraph says this is the Iran war, and it's not. It's the United States and Israel's war. But Trump says it's not even a war. At the same time, Israel is bombing the shit out of Lebanon.
Watch your language, family show.
What's that?
I said, watch your language, family show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry. Go ahead.
And then when you see the Greater Israel map that Netanyahu held up before 2 weeks, I think, at the UN before October 7th, they're going to have to go into Turkey and Saudi Arabia. So this whole there's a number of ways to look at this. Catherine Austin Fitz and my friend Tom and others have said this is a much broader agenda in this whole global new system that they're pushing, where Klaus Schwab says in the future you will own nothing and be happy. And so a lot of it's about suffering and accepting the suffering with these new definitions. Israel's killed 247 journalists, I think, and over 100 humanitarians. And so it's this new war.
They've
of
killed
drones
negotiators
and
as well.
AI. And so it's to me, it's so much more than just, saying this is the war with Iran.
Yeah.
And we just have to look what's happening and what's going to come. But Jeremiah, they told us this is what's going to happen. Klaus Schwab said you're going to own nothing and be happy, and Bill Gates said he wants 800 million people on the planet. So how do you exterminate 90% of the global population?
Right, and of course Netanyahu himself has been chomping at the bit for a war with Iran for over a decade. So that's a heck of a leader there. He's not trying to really help people. He just keeps thinking about this war he needs to do.
Well, that's the timing also, Jeremiah. It has to happen now because of Netanyahu and Trump.
Right.
And their whole timeline with the Agenda 2030 and the other two, the digital currency and a number of different things. So I just see all these things, and I see, Catherine Austin Fitz, James Corbett, all these people talking about what they know, and then the military guys like Scott Ritter and Michael Vaughn and all these guys talking about what they hear from the people on the inside. And you just piece it together, and this is how I get back to finding the fundamental truth. Like, if there's enough whistleblowers and enough people on the inside who kind of know what's happening, that's not the story that we're all being told. And if you've been doing this long enough, you take all those elements as everything is proceeding, and you can kind of get a good picture of being able to predict what's going to happen, especially now because they tell you what's going to happen.
Right. Predictive programming.
But I think it's getting back to like my massage work and stuff like that. There's so many people that can't do this work because this stuff has an energy and a vibration to it. And to hold this energy can be quite toxic. And a lot of people don't want to believe it because then it destroys their whole, utopian America first, or, vision of what they've had to trust and appreciate their whole lives and defend.
Yeah.
And so, confirmational bias has been weaponized.
Yeah, and the cognitive dissonance at that point becomes unbearable for most.
Yeah, so. And they don't have the sources, Jeremiah. They don't. Who are they listening to? So, that whole thing, the death of romance, where it's like to try to talk to somebody. If you say something, you instantly turn them off or trigger them because they don't even speak this language. It's like talking to a TV.
Yeah. So,
and then we live in this isolated world where we have this information and we're really curious and, it's like Celia's letter about being a whistleblower, taking on this information. It's a tough job. It's a tough task. It's a lot of sacrifice, and it can bring you to your knees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I have clients that come and they just vomit on me, because they have to discharge and download this energy from this information somehow. And I'm a good listener.
Yeah, you are.
And usually people do it to their partners, and that may be why there's so many divorces and stuff now too. But it's people are having a real hard time holding. I mean, so many of my friends feel like they're microwaved every day from so many different things and traumatized. And it's just, before we were going to do this interview, I just felt, oh my God, I'm going to get on with you and just be another complainer and, Debbie Downer.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, we have to discuss the problems to address the problems, right? Like there's the old saying, which is a good saying. I understand the point of it, where they say, don't talk about it, be about it. But if you haven't talked about it, what are you going to be about, right? We have to talk things through and figure out what's going on so we can act accordingly. We don't want to get stuck in the realm of just talking, but we're going to have some good conversations first to orient appropriate action in response to the situation. So it is a little past 1:30 here on the East Coast. I want to, first of all, invite you to call the program. Our number is 888-874-4888. Please get in the queue. We already have a caller on the line that we're going to hear from in a moment, and we'd love to hear from you. But I want to quickly run through the different ways by which you can support this program. The Bassline is over 2 years old. This is episode 138. We've had tremendous guests. A lot of information has been shared here, but I still am striving to achieve the goal of making my independent journalism solvent. Basically, this is a labor of love, and I've gotten some support here and there, but I could really use some more resounding support, which would then be the wind beneath the wings of this program, so I can really sit there and organize things properly and take the time to research and write my articles and know that the level of support is paying for the hours and hours spent every week. Because remember, I not only live in New York City, I have 2 innocent young children to feed and to raise every day. So your support in whatever form is greatly appreciated. And that includes spreading the word about this program, sharing the links. You can go to thebassline.podbean.com. The entire archive of interviews is there. Please make sure to subscribe to the recently created YouTube channel. Look up The Bassline Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to that right away. If YouTube is a more familiar platform to people, you can share the interviews with a YouTube link instead for people who are unfamiliar with Podbean. But yeah, we really need to spread the word about this program. And here's a list of things that I'm going to run through quickly. First of all, on April 26th, we're having another 528 frequency jam. The last one was absolutely joyous. People were dancing. The 528 frequency was in effect. And that jam session happens at 274 Lenox Avenue at a wonderful place a bastion of culture and art called Rock Mill Fitness, 274 Lenox Avenue between 123rd and 124th Street, just south of the 125th Street train station on 125th Street in Lexington. So please save that date, April 26th. Also, frontierfarm.com. That's farm with a PH. Frontier, FRONTIERPHARM.com. And the code is the Bassline, capital THE space capital BASSLINE. And please make use of that resource. I've been really enjoying the Frontier Farm products myself. Great mouthwash, toothpaste. You can sprinkle some chlorine dioxide on your toes to remove any toenail fungus. You have skin care, you have wound care. Please check out the catalog and make use of the discount code, which again supports this program, and you're helping your own health by having some of these products available on hand, which I strongly recommend. Like I said, these are used in my own home, so I'm not recommending anything that I don't make use of myself, which includes our next thing, which is privateiptvaccess.com. That's privateiptvaccess.com, and the code there is capital J, capital H, OSEA, J Hosea. And yeah, I love this television system. I kind of joke that I hope that there's a world revolution, but they keep IPTV in place so I can enjoy all the things that I enjoy using that incredible app, which gives you television from literally around the world. You can see, well, what are they saying about the war in Great Britain or Australia or Colombia or Libya? I mean, believe it or not, I had to turn on Palestinian television to get images of the Iran war that we're just not seeing here because there's a media blackout about what's happening. Another thing is, of course, JeremiahHosea.com. You can get my music there. RemoteLearningChess.com. I'm a chess teacher. As soon as I leave the station, I'm going to run to Jersey City and teach a chess lesson. I had the pleasure of teaching a PRN listener this morning. Please make use of my experience as a chess teacher. I love to share the Game of Kings and the King of Games. And last of all, I will mention JeremiahHosea.substack.com. I've written 39 articles to date, so please like and share those articles and take a look at them, because I think I make some good points that people can incorporate into their own daily discourse. But also, I'd love for you to know where I'm coming from, because, of course, I take the time to interview other people, but I've taken quite a bit of time through my articles to express my own point of view. And if you're tuning in right now, or you're a listener who listens in on a regular basis, well, take a listen, or take a read, in this case, of what my perspective is. And hopefully you appreciate it. And I'd love to see comments below each article. You can chime in and share your response, your point of view. If I missed a point or there's something you disagree with me about, go ahead. Let's discuss it. Let's continue with the discourse. And last of all, I'm going to mention I'm performing on Tuesday in Long Island. So if any of you guys are Long Island folks, I'm going to be performing at Woodmere Lanes with Leon and the Peoples. It's a reggae soul band, a great bunch of folks. And we're performing at 8 p.m., 948 Broadway in Woodmere, New York. So thanks for listening to all of that. Those are different ways you can support the program. And before we get to a call, which we'll do in a moment, we have a couple callers on the line, a few that we'd love to hear from. But I would love for you to follow up on what you were just mentioning, Scott, which is Celia Farber, who I know you respect very much, and I know she's done a lot of outstanding work over the years. And you have certain ideas about whistleblowers and the plight of the whistleblower. So can you kind of lead us into that portion of the discussion in terms of Celia Farber and whistleblowers? What do you have to say about that?
Well, she wrote this letter a couple of weeks ago in her Substack, and she said, When I was young and stupid, I thought the big story, the glorious truth, was worth my life. It wasn't. Let me tell you a dark, depressing secret. The house always wins. I wish I had prioritized my family, myself, and my health, but I believed the quest was holy. It wasn't. To any young journalist hot on the trail of the really big, really dark story, I counsel you to reconsider. Who will have your back? Nobody. Will any facts on earth protect you? No, quite the opposite. Lies only are protected. Your life will be in tatters and shreds. You will be brought to your knees. Fine, do it then if you insist, but understand the cost before you set sail. I once had a writer of mine murdered. Anyway, I've massaged 5 whistleblowers, and there's this darkness around them. It's sort of like with the massage work too, how people pick up things, and if you're attacked from so many different energetic fields and forces and people, and it's not easy to speak out. And so a lot of what I talk about with my friends is how do we navigate and stay sane and healthy in this in this environment. And it's interesting because I was talking to my friend yesterday, and she said her brother doesn't listen to politics or any of this, and he's happy. He has a lovely life. And I said, so maybe it is easier. But my friend Tom, we were talking this morning, and he said, no, it's we for me too, and it's imperative. I felt so helpless when I didn't know stuff. I was insecure in conversations. I didn't know what I was talking about. I couldn't hold an argument or a conversation without looking and feeling like an idiot. So I think the benefits of knowing maybe kind of neutralize the people that just don't pay any attention to this. And the one thing that Tom said this morning was, it's like, at least if you know the stuff we know, you're not surprised when things happen.
Right.
But we have to keep community, and like you with your music and me with my healing work, we have to stay connected to the earth and grounded in our hearts.
Right.
Otherwise, there's so many talking heads, I think, that just, they don't really talk about that aspect of the heart's code and this energy and vibrational way of thinking about things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and I have all these clients now in their 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, and touch is so essential because so many of them, like my friend Slater, he's had like 10 more friends die. And as you get closer to that, leaving this physical exist life, it's imperative to stay in physical contact and experience love and touch. And yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's so many elders who were isolated during COVID, and that was really their demise. Not the COVID that we're supposed to be afraid of spreading to them because we were possibly asymptomatic carriers, but we were actually killing our loved ones by isolating them and thinking that was for their protection.
I don't know if you remember, there was a study, this was a long time ago, I can't remember if it was in the 80s, but it was done on Hungarian or orphans in an orphanage, and when they were adopted, they were like more suicidal, more aggressive, more violent. So the people don't get touched. It always amazes me when I work on somebody and say, oh, my husband or so-and-so doesn't like to be touched. They don't get massages. They don't like to be touched. And I'm like, that just seems so strange to me.
Yeah, that's
I'm
interesting. That's
such
a
a
great
people
point.
person, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, G.I. Gurdjieff, I'm a big fan of his work. He talks about how we need air, food, water, and impressions. That we need sort of the impressions and the interaction with other people. But we actually have some callers on the line, and I'd like to bring them into the conversation. We have Max from Brooklyn. Are you there, Max? Is Max there, or did he drop? Okay, well, you got to be a little quicker to the draw there, Max. Are you there? 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go to Noel from Manhattan. How are you, Noel?
Actually, he hung up. He's calling back.
Okay. Hopefully he'll be back in a second. Yeah, guys, you got to be ready when the ball is passed to you. This is live radio. Don't go to the other side of the room where you can't get back to your phone.
Noel should be on the line now.
Okay, Noel, how are you, my friend?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Sounds like you're in a car.
Yes, I absolutely am. All right, hold on. Let me turn this down. Okay. Can you? All right. Are you still hearing an echo?
No, don't worry. I hear you perfectly well. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. What your guest Scott was saying the other day. Let me check with you first. They said that the measles is beginning to increase because of Kennedy saying that you don't have to take the measles shot.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct or incorrect?
That they're saying that, or that measles is spreading?
Right. Measles is spreading because Kennedy said you don't have to take the shot.
Right. Well, you know what's a funny thing I'll say about that, first of all, is there was a word on the streets, I swear to you, before Kennedy was ever appointed, saying if Kennedy gets appointed, there's going to be a measles outbreak. But this was somehow, an idea that was in circulation before Kennedy ever got appointed. One thing I'll say is that measles is a perfectly treatable illness. Many people have gotten measles and they got over it quite well, and you can even use just holistic methods and you'll recover from measles. And there's a theory, I can't go into depth about it, I'm not a medical professional, but there is a theory that chicken pox, measles, and some of these other common diseases help train the immune system and prevent cancers and other things that can afflict you later in life. So there's actually a purpose in these battles that we have with these pathogens. But, another thing about the measles vaccine agenda is that you don't have a measles vaccine. You have an MMR vaccine. You have to get measles, mumps, and rubella. So I can't choose to say, okay, let me get a measles vaccine. No, you're going to give me a cocktail. And where I think it gets really suspicious and really terrible, frankly, is a lot of people have been injured and many children have even been killed through an acute reaction to the measles vaccine, or the MMR vaccine, and they're just left like roadkill at the side of the road. It's, too bad, that's collateral damage, that's rare. But meanwhile,
we made a mistake.
Right. Well, usually they don't say we made a mistake. They'll say, it's the 1 in a million chance. Sorry, little Johnny died, but we saved so many other people through our measles vaccine. But,
Can I add something?
Yeah, please. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. What's your name, Noel?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Go research or look up anything that Tom Cowan talks about with this. And then also you can...
Yeah, that's Dr. Tom Cowan,
Aaron,
Cowan.
Yeah, Aaron Suri, Siri, is also the lawyer that testified in the hearings, and he did these amazing interviews, depositions, a 9-hour deposition with Stanley Plotkin, who's the godfather of vaccines, and he did a 8-hour deposition with Catherine Edwards, who's the godmother of vaccine trials. And when you watch those depositions, or you go and look at any of Tom Cowan's or Aaron Suri's videos, you'll get a whole different perspective on measles and a lot of these other things.
Yeah, one last thing I wanted to mention, because I know there's other callers. What was I about to say? Okay, I think I can't remember the point. Oh, the new czar for Zoran Mandami.
Yeah.
For those who are around the country, around the world, Zoran Mandami is the mayor of New York City.
Yeah.
He just got a new. I don't know if he's in charge of the health for New York City. This guy still is pushing the COVID-19 shot.
Oh my gosh!
I would like this guy. Maybe you can maybe have him on your show, because I don't know where these people get their medical knowledge from when you're still pushing an MMR theory and it doesn't work.
Yeah. And another thing that I would really love everyone in the world to read, and certainly the listeners of this program, is Dissolving Illusions by Dr. Suzanne Humphreys and Roman Bistrianic, who's going to be a guest on this program soon. And they really just destroy so much of the mythology around vaccines. I won't even go into it. It's a dense, extensive book, but they cover measles, they cover polio, they cover the ugly
Tom Cowan's
history.
Book, The Contagion Myth is great also.
Yeah.
And Naomi Wolf's The Pfizer Papers.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. There's some great literature out there, but I would say Dissolving Illusions, just required reading. Great in-depth analysis of the vaccine agenda, the history that we're not told, the history that doctors are not told at all about these inoculations. And
Gary Noll's doing a special too, Jeremiah, on this, on vaccines.
Yeah. Gary Noll's done incredible work over the years.
He's doing something new. I just saw it the other day.
Yeah, I've interviewed Gary on this program, and I hope to interview him again soon. He absolutely is another pioneer and leader in the discussion.
40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as Mamdani goes, I don't want to spend the rest of the time of the show just expressing my disdain for him. But why do I disdain Mamdani? Not because he's Indian. Of course not. My grandmother's grandmother was Indian. I'm very proud. From India, Calcutta, India. Very proud of that. I played Indian music with the great Kirsch Kale, incredible tabla player I toured with for years. Love Indian food. Is it because he's a Muslim? Nope, I don't have anything against Muslims. Is it because he's a socialist? I don't think he's a socialist at all. I would love to actually just ask him to his face, what characterizes you as a socialist? Socialism is completely incompatible with the agenda of the Democratic Party. But the reason why I will say that I despise Mamdani, and I know that sounds like a harsh thing to say, but it's quite justified in my opinion, because Mamdani was interviewed and asked, would you restore the jobs of the workers who lost not just their jobs, but lost their careers for not complying with the dehumanizing medical mandates that were issued during the COVID agenda? And he blankly and coldly said no.
Well,
you
I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you the link right out of his own mouth. So, to me, I don't give any of these politicians a feather in their cap. I'll see it when I believe it, or I'll believe it when I see it. I mean to say, when they implement something that they said they were going to do, they generally make a lot of claims, and it's a bunch of hot air, and they don't follow up on any of the things that they did to entice people to vote for them. But you're starting out with an aggressive statement against me and people like me. We value our bodily autonomy. We do not want to be coerced into invasive medical procedures. And you're saying that if I'm one of those people, which I am, then I don't have a right to exist. Because as Dr. King said, if you deny a person a job, if you deny a person the right to work, you are denying that person's right to exist. So to me, Mamdani starts off his career with a very hostile statement
I didn't know that.
against the thousands and thousands of medical professionals who lost their jobs in the state for not complying, the thousands of teachers. And I'll add, as I've said before, but I think it's an important point, the teachers who were fired for not complying, that's the teacher you want teaching your child.
Yeah, they were the heroes.
Yeah, the medical professional who got fired for not complying with the agenda, which actually is 34,000 healthcare workers in New York State on record lost their jobs, but the actual number is over 70,000 because about half of the people who lost their careers, they preemptively saw what was happening and they just left their careers, and 34,000 stuck around to be formally fired. But those are the healthcare professionals you want taking care of you. So, I have.
Hey, Jeremiah, can I ask you something?
Please.
In the last remaining minutes, you had said you wanted me to talk about my massage business a little bit?
Absolutely. That's
do we
next.
still have time? Or?
Yes, we do. We have 5 minutes. So, I do, before we get into that, and we're going to close out with that, I want to say Scott is a great masseur, and masseur for lack of a better term, because he's a healer. He uses heat. He uses cold. He uses his hands, his elbows. He uses his electric massager. It's like a full sensory experience. And the amount of tension and strain that just leaves the body under his care is really extraordinary. So just like I said, I use the chlorine dioxide that I promote here. I'm a big fan of my IPTV that I encourage you to use. I also am a client of Scott's, and it's a joy and an incredible treatment that you receive at his hands. So please make use of the real time, the real life resources that are available to us, and contact Scott for a massage. How do people, first of all, before you talk about your healing methods in the last 3 or 4 minutes here, tell us how to contact you, Scott, so people can just get on the phone and schedule a massage with you.
Just call me, 212-874-2785.
One more time.
212-874-2785.
There you go. Please contact Scott. You will thank me for it. Okay. If you have any sort of nagging injury, sore back, sore knee, sore shoulder, get an appointment with Scott on the books right away. He will help you out. You'll feel a million times better. So tell us about some of your unique methods, Scott, because I've had some good massages over the years, but you're just in another category.
Well, the interesting thing is my girlfriend taught me how to do massages way back in 1978. I was in a dance company, and she worked with Bonnie Pruden up in the Berkshires, who created Trigger Point and myotherapy. So my brother is a chiropractic neurologist. He gave me my first massage table in 1982. So whenever I wasn't doing shows, because I became a dancer, I was in theater, I did 13 shows. Whenever I wasn't doing shows, I was doing massages. And I did 6 tours also. I did Chorus Line and Starlight Express. I did these shows and probably had over 100 massages in different countries. And I took a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And in the 80s and 90s, I mostly worked on dancers, but then it kind of shifted over into, like now, most of my clients are older. But I do cupping. I use ice and heat because when I was in Japan for a year, I started going to the baths there. And I go down the Russian baths, so I, contract and expand. The heat and the ice really work really well with so many different things. And the thing that I've learned over the years is that I don't just do massages, that I kind of do reconstructive, like physical therapy things, either with the work that I do, the trigger point, or the cupping, or the stretching. And because a lot of people just do massages, but I actually love challenges and fixing things, and then the emotional aspect too of sharing with people how to discharge and not catch the ball and throw it back, whatever kind of energies or things that they've been picking up.
Right.
I guess that's kind of it, Jeremiah. Also, the other thing is, I have a few clients that pay me $100 or more, but 90% of my clients I work with, my friend yesterday, I've been working on it for 30 years. She's 80, and she gives me $45. So I know there's a lot of people, they have a set price, but I work with people. And I know a lot of people don't get massages because they think it's $100 or more, and they go, "Oh, I can't afford it." But I work with people, so
right. Yeah, absolutely.
My dad
Please.
always used to say 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And massages are so expensive now. I know people that are $150, $180. I'm like, they're like my acupuncturist. He's $185. I'm like,
yeah, actually, and we got to close up here. We're out of time, but I'll say on the same note, I teach chess lessons every day. My normal rate is $55 an hour, and that is reduced for Bassline listeners. You get your Bassline discount. But I teach chess lessons for 2 different companies, and I get paid $75 an hour. So I just don't have it in me to price gouge. But the rate that I offer before the discount is better than the market rate that you're going to come across. So yeah, please make use of these community-friendly resources. Schedule a chess lesson with me. Schedule a massage with Scott Austin. He's really phenomenal. I can vouch for him 100% that you're going to feel.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
No, I mean, look, I'm a terrible liar, so if it wasn't true, I couldn't say it. But I want people to feel the relief that you will feel after a great session with Scott. So we're out of time, unfortunately. I want to thank all you guys for listening. Thank you, Scott, for joining us today. Please spread the word about our radio show here, The Bassline, on YouTube.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone have a great weekend. Oh, yeah, and tune in tonight. End All Tyranny is our community on X. We're going to have The Bassline Extra, and we're going to continue this conversation. You can grab a mic over there, too, as well. Have a great weekend, everyone. Peace and love.